One thing I like to do in my spare time is make customs using my spare or drunk Thomas models. While I tend to only use super common models, knockoffs, or generic stuff, this one was an exception. A long time ago, I went to a yard sale that I heard had Take and Play for sale. When I got there, I found that the only sets for sale were ones I already had, or that really shitty shark one. There were no engines or anything, but something caught my eye. Sitting off to the side was a box of engines and rolling stock and a huge bag of Tomy track. The bag was only $8 and had some engines inside of it, which I'm sure were not supposed to be in there, but oh well. I would have looked through it longer, but we were about to leave on a trip, so I had to hurry. I ended up buying a Trackmaster Arthur, Lady, and Sir Handle, a Tomy Indian Clarabelle, and the bag of track. Fun fact, the engines in that bag included Steamlong Thomas, Talking Trackmaster Edward, and a Trackmaster 2 Spencer, which eventually became my main Spencer. Anyway, in that bag was a really dirty, broken, paint-chipped Tomy Spencer with no tender. At first I had no use for it, as it was in worse shape than my Hit Toys one and also had no tender. But I decided to make it into an original character, an A4 painted blue with yellow circles on it and yellow wheels called Starry Night, based off of the famous painting. The tender used a standard Trackmaster truck, which in retrospect I kind of regret using. It had paper taped on and Legos used as the coal load. Starry Night was meant to appear in the original Steamy Sodor series, and I don't know if she actually ever did because those videos are lost now. Starry Night stuck around for a while but was retired. Later on, I decided to turn Starry Night into a custom Commodore Vanderbilt. I cut off the buffers and threw on some black paint. It was never finished, as it would have involved a lot of cardboard sculpting, which I was horrible at back then. By now, the tender had been used for a different character called Chancellor, who you may now recognize as the Groundhog Engine from Merch Tales. Later on, Chancellor was retired as well, and I planned to remake Starry Night. I got the first few coats of paint on, but gave up. The model lived in pieces on my shelf for a long time until I was inspired. I was watching the Unlucky Tugs Flying Scotsman USA tour video and learned of an A4 class named Dwight D. Eisenhower. The real Eisenhower was the 34th president, and also happens to be my favorite president. When I looked farther into the background of the A4, I became fascinated. A British locomotive named after a major U.S. military figure that was sent to Wisconsin and remains there today. Unfortunately, model trains are expensive. Models of Dwight even more so. So a 00 model of him was out of the question. But what about a Tomy one? I began work on the custom after pulling all the parts out on the night of March 22nd, 2024 while I was watching Season 13 of Thomas, in which I painted the model in a 11182 Christmas green to reflect the inaccurate livery the real Dwight wore for some time. I applied the second coat the next day on March 23rd. Later that night, I painted black on his running board, cab, and wheels. On March 24th, I began work on the tender, using the same old truck that has served as a tender for 2 different engines. I used cardboard to sculpt the body around the truck. Sometime after this, I cleaned out his mechanism and found that it didn't run super great, which is something I want to fix in the future. I continued to touch up his coat of green while the tacky glue on his tender dried. I mixed some white and gray to get a very light color, which I painted the face with. The old face was very chipped up and I couldn't get the right color, so I painted the whole thing. I also replaced his traction tires because they were very ratty. I multitasked by playing Roblox with all die-cast while also painting the tender. While the tender dried, I started the lining and would alternate putting more coats on until I was satisfied. I decided it was time for his first run, which, while sluggish, especially for an A4 Express engine, was successful. He could climb hills and pull coaches. After that, I continued to work on the lining whilst listening to the best song ever. Next day was back to work. While I wasn't busy at school, I started with the curved lining Dwight has around the smoke box. This took a lot of work because I kept messing it up. Eventually I was satisfied with it and started to do the black centers of the lining. All the lining is something I would like to redo in the future, but it's alright for now. On March 30th, I printed out paper details to stick on, nameplates, numbers, and BR crests. I don't really like how dark the background color is. That was a product of some kind of printer nonsense that I'm not clued up on enough to really explain. And the nameplates got messed up, but the decoration's alright to me. I did the tender lining next. Once I finished that, I painted the tender buffer beam, and it was all done. Dwight was finished. So, here he is. There are definitely things I would like to fix. The lining, some of the paper details, the bent parts of the tender, and especially the mechanism. I was going to swap it for my Hit Toy Spencer motor, but it wouldn't fit. I think it might be from the dirt I can't get out of the gears and the cracked gear drive. But I'm not really sure what the problem is. Hell, I had to steal a spring from my Hit Toys Spencer so that the gears wouldn't lock up since I was missing the Tomy one. But as kind of bad and amateurish as it is, I'm very proud of this. I love the real-life engine, so I love the custom. I would someday like to make a miniature Great Gathering sign to put on him, but who knows. It's not perfect, but I like it. Changes I expect to make on this model is the addition of a double chimney, which is present on the real engine, and the side routes to be swapped. The gray ones aren't really accurate to the real-life Dwight, and I think white ones would look a lot more striking. Anyway, that's all I have to say, so thanks for watching, and look out for this engine to appear in maybe merch tales.